Ladies and gentlemen, today I invite you to reflect on a theme that is as old as history yet as relevant as our own heartbeat. Why the chosen ones are often lonely and broken. We see it in the stories of great innovators, reformers, teachers, scientists, and community builders, the people who carry a vision bigger than themselves. Before they rise, they are hidden. Before they lead, they are misunderstood. And before they stand strong, they are often humbled. This is not a punishment, it is a pattern. In our time together, we will explore how loneliness, brokenness, and preparation can actually shape extraordinary character and turn ordinary lives into vessels of purpose. The isolation of purpose is one of the most misunderstood seasons in a person's life. When someone feels called to a task, dream, or responsibility that is larger than what they have seen before, they often find themselves standing on paths that others cannot yet recognize. Friends, colleagues, even family may not fully grasp why certain choices are being made or why the person's priorities seem different. This disconnect can make the road feel quiet and sometimes painfully lonely. Yet history, psychology, and even everyday examples show that this kind of isolation is often a sign of deep growth rather than abandonment. It is during these periods of separation that distractions fall away and clarity begins to emerge. Without the constant noise of other people's opinions, a person can begin to hear their own convictions and sense the direction that is genuinely theirs, not a borrowed dream or a copied plan. In an educational sense, this is similar to how a seed germinates. Before it can grow into something visible and strong, it must be buried in the soil, unseen, and seemingly forgotten. Underneath, however, a powerful process is happening. Roots are spreading, nutrients are being absorbed, and the future shape of the plant is being formed. In the same way, when people feel set apart for something, it does not mean they are rejected, it means they are being prepared. This preparation often includes developing skills, knowledge, habits, and emotional maturity that cannot be built in crowded spaces. Solitude becomes a training ground where focus sharpens and discipline strengthens. This kind of purposeful isolation also protects the person from premature exposure. When a vision or talent is still fragile, too much attention, pressure, or distraction can crush it before it is ready. By allowing a season of separation, life gives the individual a chance to experiment, fail safely, and learn without constant public scrutiny. Athletes, artists, scientists, and leaders often describe long hours of practice, study, or work alone before anyone knew their name. Those hidden hours are not wasted. They are essential. They are where mastery, originality, and resilience are born. Without them, public moments of success would not be possible. Moreover, isolation of purpose teaches discernment. When one is constantly surrounded by advice and noise, it is difficult to know which voice to follow. In solitude, a person can evaluate ideas, beliefs, and motives. They can ask themselves whether they are moving out of fear, pride, habit, or genuine conviction. This inner honesty creates a kind of integrity that is rare and powerful. Later, when criticism or praise comes, such a person is less easily swayed because they have already wrestled with their values in private. Finally, the educational lesson behind the isolation of purpose is that it is temporary and transformative. Just as a student withdraws from social life to to study for an important exam, or a musician spends years in practice rooms before a performance. The chosen periods of loneliness are investments. They are not an end state, but a passage. When the preparation has done its work, the individual emerges more focused, more skillful, and more ready to serve, lead, or create at a higher level. Understanding this can turn what feels like punishment into an opportunity for growth, and can give strength to keep going when the path seems empty. Brokenness, although often feared and misunderstood, is one of the most powerful shaping forces in a person's life. When people experience setbacks, disappointments, rejections, or losses, they frequently interpret these moments as evidence of weakness or failure. In reality, these experiences can act as chisels, sculpting the character and resilience necessary for larger responsibilities. Just as a metal must be heated, hammered, and cooled repeatedly before it becomes strong enough to hold a structure together, so too must a person sometimes pass through seasons of breaking before they develop the toughness and flexibility required for their calling. This process strips away illusions about self-sufficiency and control, and it replaces them with humility, empathy, and a deeper understanding of others. Think about how education itself works. No student becomes knowledgeable without being challenged. Complex lessons, difficult exams, and rigorous practice can feel overwhelming, but they are designed to stretch the mind beyond its current capacity. In the same way, life's curriculum uses hardship to stretch the heart and mind. During these times of brokenness, the person learns patience because things do not happen on their timetable. They learn compassion because they themselves have needed kindness. They learn perseverance because giving up would mean abandoning something precious. These are not traits that can be memorized from a book. They must be lived, felt, and internalized. Brokenness also removes superficial motives. When everything is going well, it is easy to build identity around achievements, applause, or material success. Hardship, however, tests motives at their core. It asks, why are you doing this? What truly matters to you? When the layers of ego and comfort are peeled away, what remains is often a clearer sense of purpose and values. This is why many great leaders, thinkers, and innovators have stories of deep struggle before their breakthroughs. Their difficulties became classrooms where they learned not only about their craft, but also about themselves. Another important aspect of brokenness is the way it softens the heart. People who have suffered are often more approachable and relatable than those who have never known hardship. They carry an authenticity that cannot be faked. This authenticity makes them better mentors, better colleagues, better friends, and often better leaders. They are not shocked by other people's pain, and they are less likely to judge harshly. Instead, they can listen and guide with empathy. This is a vital skill when the chosen individual eventually steps into a position of influence, because influence without empathy can easily turn into control or exploitation. Finally, brokenness is a preparation for balance. It teaches that strength does not mean invincibility, but rather the capacity to keep going, to adapt, and to stay compassionate, even when circumstances are hard. This balanced strength is much more sustainable than brittle perfectionism. In practical terms, someone who has been broken learns how to handle criticism without collapsing, how to face obstacles without panicking, and how to celebrate victories without arrogance. They become steady, not because life has been easy, but because they have been forged by difficulty. Seeing brokenness in this educational way transforms it from something to avoid into something that, though painful, can be embraced as a teacher. Growth into leadership is rarely a sudden leap. It is almost always a gradual process shaped by experience, reflection, and the ability to transform challenges into lessons. People who are set apart for bigger roles often find themselves going through long seasons of preparation. These seasons do not merely test knowledge or skill, they refine inner qualities such as patience, humility, and discernment. Leadership in any form, whether in a classroom, a workplace, a community, or a nation, demands more than the ability to give instructions. It requires the maturity to listen, to evaluate, to decide fairly, and to inspire others, even when circumstances are uncertain. That maturity is not handed out with a title. It grows quietly in the soil of daily habits and private struggles. One reason the journey into leadership feels lonely or difficult is that it forces a person to live ahead of their comfort zone. They must begin thinking not just about their own success, but about the well-being of others. This shift from self-focus to service is challenging, especially in cultures that glorify instant gratification and personal gain. Yet it is this shift that builds credibility and trust. People are drawn to leaders who have walked through hardship, who have learned self-control, and who understand the cost of their decisions. In this way, the earlier seasons of loneliness and brokenness become valuable training grounds, creating a leader who is steady rather than impulsive, compassionate rather than self-centered. Education provides a helpful analogy. Before a teacher stands in front of a classroom, they spend years studying their subject, practicing lesson plans, and learning about different kinds of learners. Before a surgeon operates, they endure countless hours of study and supervised practice. This long preparation is not a barrier, but a safeguard. It ensures that when responsibility finally arrives, the person can handle it with skill and integrity. Similarly, people who are growing into leadership roles benefit from long periods of practice. In smaller, less visible arenas, they may mentor one person before leading a team, or manage a small project before directing a department. Each stage develops another layer of competence and confidence. Another aspect of this growth is the development of vision. A leader who has only experienced ease may have a shallow vision, shaped by personal ambition. A leader who has endured isolation, criticism, and setbacks often develops a deeper, more inclusive vision. They have had time to think about the long-term consequences of choices, the value of diversity, and the importance of ethical boundaries. These insights make them more resilient under pressure and more creative in solving problems. They also make them better at empowering others because they know firsthand what it feels like to struggle. Finally, growth into leadership through loneliness and brokenness instills a sense of stewardship. Instead of seeing power as a prize, the person begins to see it as a responsibility. They understand that leadership is not about standing above others, but about lifting others, creating space for them to flourish and protecting them when necessary. This perspective creates healthier teams, stronger communities, and more sustainable progress. In practical terms, it means that the individual emerging from these formative seasons is not only more skilled, but also more grounded, balanced, and trustworthy. By the time they arrive, they are ready not just to lead, but to serve. And that is the mark of true leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, loneliness, brokenness, and growth are not punishments. They are the hidden classrooms where life shapes extraordinary people. They forge the patience, empathy, vision, and resilience needed to lead and to serve. When you find yourself walking a path that feels empty or carrying a weight that feels heavy, remember it may be the very process preparing you for the work you were meant to do. Stand firm in your preparation. Treat each season as a teacher. Know that every challenge is building a depth and a strength that will later bless others. And when the time comes, step forward with courage and humility, not just to achieve, but to guide, to uplift, and to inspire. That is the true reward of being chosen, and that is the legacy you can leave for the world. Thank you.